All right, Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopefully elect. All right, now I have a video here from this individual, the view from Appalachia. All right, which of course you brothers know Appalachia is, that region of, kind of like the eastern seaboard, so to speak, kind of inland, excuse me, if you don't know, I believe it stretches from all the way down south in like Georgia up to like Pennsylvania, I want to say, that whole region, and it's kind of inland, where you have like the mountains and stuff. So you have a lot of six-pack Joe Edomites out there. All right. You have a lot of, redneck hillbilly devils. All right. And some of them are actually Jake, but point being, that the Lord is putting the squeeze on this place, America, man, and he's putting the squeeze on these Edomites. All right, like we're going to see in this video right here. All right. So now we're going to listen to this guy. He appears to be an Edomite, a so-called white person, but he may be an Israelite. Okay, we're scattered among all people. This dude may be an Irishman, whatever the case. Or he may be, Scottish, whatever. And we're among all people, so it doesn't really matter necessarily what country, your line goes back to. If your spirit bears witness, then, that would mean you're an Israelite, all right? But anyway, sometimes I just got to say that, whatever. But this man said, I saw a real desperation at Dollar General today, all right? So we're going to kind of let this play a little bit. I don't want to play too much of it, but basically, I want to grab the scripture first, right? Before we do anything. All right, this is Isaiah. Not this one. Let's see. Isaiah 24 and 11. It says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. Right. So the mirth of the land is gone. What is that word mirth? Let's look this up, right? Define mirth. It says amusement, especially as expressed in laughter. So if you're amused, you're so amused and happy and giddy that you're laughing out loud, you're in a very lighthearted spirit. You're in a very cheerful spirit, right? That's like the vibe of like partying and, celebrating, right? Everything's good times, you're feasting, you're banqueting, right? You're having some drinks, you're among friends and family, right? Everything's just all good, just a nice, like fun vibe, that vibe of fun and partying and mirth, right, is completely gone from America. The Most High has taken that out, okay? Isaiah 24 and 11 in the NLT, mobs gather in the streets. Didn't know I was going to say that. All right, and that is coming, okay? Crying out for wine, okay? And that wine is representative of what? Answers, wisdom, Joy has turned to gloom. Gladness has been banished from the land. Whoo! So it's no more gladness, man, all right? Why? The Lord is putting such a squeeze on this place, man. He zapped that fun energy out of this place, man, And now people are just having a hard time, an extremely hard time just getting by. And these people are ready to snap. And we're getting ready to head into that great biblical tribulation known as Jacob's trouble, all right? So with that being said, all right, let's let this play. We're going to speed it up just a little bit. And this is all fair use, all right? To this man, if you should, see my video, I'm not making any money off of this, all right? This is only for, biblical edification, all right? So fair use.
Many Dollar General stores are there? How many Dollar General stores are there in the county where you live at? right now. I can count 4 here where I am. There may be 5. I could be missing one, but I think there's 4 here in the county where I live at that I pass by just about every time I leave here to go up to town. At least 4 Dollar General stores. It's pretty much that way in every county, surrounding me also, and probably everywhere in the South and everywhere else it seems. They say there's probably a Dollar General store on the moon. Every 10 miles or so, Dollar General, Dollar General, Dollar General. But anyway, I stop there every so often to pick up, a few little things because Walmart is usually more crowded and usually takes more time to go in and get whatever you need to get. And that's really the only stores there are around here, besides a few hardware stores and things, is the Dollar General stores and Walmart. So I stopped at the Dollar General store today. I've been to my mom's, and I was coming back, and I decided to stop at the Dollar General store to get, a couple of things. So I pulled in the parking lot, and there was 4 cars in the parking lot, and I sat there for about 10 minutes, probably looking at my phone, because I was checking my emails, checking the comments on my YouTube channel, YouTube videos, and just doing a few things on my phone before I went in. Not really in any big hurry or anything. I got done doing that, so I went on into the Dollar General store, and I went around the aisles and came back around the corner of another aisle, and there was a woman there. She was probably about 35 years old, and she had 2 kids with her, and she was at the freezer part where the frozen foods are at, where they have things like the frozen pizzas, the sandwich meats and cheese and things. She was right there. So I come around on the other side of the store rack and I can see her over here, and I noticed that she was shoplifting. She was stealing sandwich meat and cheese and putting that in her bag. And I saw that, and she didn't look like any kind of a drug addict, didn't look like a drunk, didn't really look homeless or anything like that, but she was shoplifting food. And so I didn't say anything because, it's not any of my business to say anything about something like that. And I didn't know why she needed that food for. Hungry, no doubt. Didn't have the money to buy food, no doubt. That's why she was shoplifting food. So, I go on around and I get thinking about it. So I get my wallet out and I get $40 out of my billfold, and I go back around where she is at, and I didn't tell her that I saw her doing that, but I told her that I got this feeling for some reason that she needed this $40. And so I handed her the $40, and she didn't want to take it, but I insisted she take it because she had the kids, and I saw she was taking food out of the store, and hoped she put that back. I didn't mention it, like I said. I didn't watch her anymore. I gave her that $40, and she thanked me after putting up resistance to it, And I went on around and got my stuff and checked out. But it was sad that someone was having to steal, shoplift food, bologna and cheese and the sandwich meats.
All right, and we can stop it there, right? So he saw this lady, we don't know if she was an Edomite lady, a so-called white lady, or maybe she was of another nation. Maybe she, was an Israelite, or maybe she was an Israelite that looked like another nation, whatever the case, right? Let's just assume she was an Edomite, A lot of these Edomites are catching hell, man. A lot of these so-called white people are catching pure hell right now, all right? And that is a fulfillment of a prophecy way back in Deuteronomy, all right? The scriptures don't lie, man, all right? So this is Deuteronomy 30:1. It says restoration promise, all right? It says, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among the nations, whither the Lord thy power hath driven thee. And we're doing that now. We're looking at, the curses of Deuteronomy 28, and we're saying this applies to us, and shalt return unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai thy power, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul. And who is doing that right now? The hopeful elect. Okay. So we're living in this, right? That then the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, will turn thy captivity, meaning he'll get you out of captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whither the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord scattered us among, every last four corner of the earth. You know what I'm saying? So that's Deuteronomy 28 and 64. All right. Deuteronomy 30 and 5. And the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. Here's the point, verse 7. And the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So who's our main enemy? The so-called white man Esau. What's the Most High doing? He's pouring out these curses upon him. All right, and we understand that some of these people could be Israelites. All right, but just by and large, so-called white man is Esau. All right, so with that in mind, right, the Most High is pouring out these curses. He's taking them from us, putting them on our enemies. All right, so I want to scroll through the comments with you to show you that this is this is a major theme. If you haven't had your head in the sand these past couple years, this past few years, that this is what's going on, man. Especially in 2025 and 2026, it's really picked up. It's really gotten a lot worse. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, has really put a tighter squeeze on this place, man, especially as of late. All right. So this is from an individual named The Sustainable Prepper. Okay, excuse me. And he said, also was in a rural Dollar General recently, and a young lady was short at the register. Just a few groceries, a baby sippy cup, and a snack. She put back the soda and kept putting items back, but still came up short. I gave her grace and asked if all she needed was about $20, and I paid for it and told her to get her other items she put back. Why? Because we are all in this together. I remember what it used to be like when we helped one another instead of judging one's shoes. Or I don't know what he what he means, judging, what it's like to walk in someone's shoes, whatever. You get what he's saying. You know. So, okay, so that's another example of that, right? This person said, this is Scott Crunk. What an asshole. Salakia. He said, we live in a society where people are more hateful to a person who has to steal $5 to eat than a person in a suit who steals $5 million to build a third house. God bless you for helping that lady. All right. This individual, Helen Hernandez, she said, it's not just food. It's rent, utilities, car repair, and medical emergency. Nowadays is very hard, man. The Lord is putting the squeeze on this place. All right. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. I believe it's 12, right? Yeah, Ecclesiastes 12 and 1. The caption says, remember the Heavenly Father in your youth. All right. Remember the Most High in your youth, not after you spend the majority of your life doing wickedness and, living according to the pleasures of your flesh. Then you get old and you want to be, balling out the gym for the Most High, going to church every day. And no, all right. No, you got to give the Lord the best years of your life. You got to give him your youth. You know what I'm saying? It's like with a woman. You don't want her when she's 50. Hell nah, man. You want her when she's fresh. All right. Um, which really a woman is a woman when she gets her period. All right. The scriptures speak about when she passed the flower of her age. That's when you can get with her. Meaning what? Have sex with her. All right. If she's yours, if she's your wife, she's betrothed to you. All right. I think this is what it's called, right? Okay, cool. And we'll get back to the topic at hand, right? But a lot of Israelites, you get your panties in a bunch about this, all right? And the scriptures tell us to show ourselves men, all right? So you can't be getting emotional about this, all right? 1 Corinthians 7:36. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, his young woman, right? His wife, his woman, all right? If she pass the flower of her age, meaning if she get her period, and need so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry, which means let them have sex. All right. It's perfectly natural. All right. You know. So, anyways, remember thy creator. Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, back in Ecclesiastes 12:1. While the evil days come not, and the evil days are coming. All right. Nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. Okay? In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Whoo! Now, what are the keepers of the house? That's going to the economists, all right? That word economy goes into housekeeping, okay? When you get into the Greek, roots of that word, all right? And why are they going to tremble? Because the outlook is so grim, And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, right? Meaning what? It's so hard to get a job. There's so few jobs out here, And those that look out of the windows be darkened, right? People that look out for what the future of this place looks like, it's darkened. They're not seeing a good picture, So let's jump back.
They have found planets that are made entirely.
All right, let's see. Let's go back to this. All right.
Food, bologna and cheese and just sandwich meats. Usually people would shoplift something that they could resell, something that had.
Yeah, and another point, he was saying that this lady, she didn't seem like a drug addict. She didn't seem like an alcoholic. She didn't seem, like she was doing anything that would, cost her, like her livelihood, or be like a big hindrance to her, being successful, so to speak. Successful meaning just able to, get by, So, this is the Lord putting the squeeze on this place, all right? And yes, of course, there's always, people fall on hard times. I understand that, but this is like everybody's falling on hard times because the cost of living is just so fucking ridiculously high, excuse my language. And like I said, that's the Lord putting the squeeze on this place, all right? So let's read this comment from this individual, Victoria March, okay? She said, there was an elderly lady in front of me in the Dollar General a few weeks ago. She got some dog treats, fabric softener, and a few cheap food items. Her card declined 3 times. She didn't have any cash, and there was a long line. I know all the I know all the workers because it's in our tiny rural town, and I go in every day. Well, that's stupid. You should buy more stuff next time you go in, all right? That way you don't got to go in every day. Salakia. That's just dumb. It says, I quietly waved at the cashier and whispered that I'd take care of it. It was $35. The elderly lady couldn't believe it. Okay, she kept asking me why. I said, because I want to help you. She hugged me and almost cried. I will always help if I can afford to, always. All right. So people are out there like needing help, man. You know? See, this individual said, people are hurting. I'm afraid it will get worse. Yeah, it will get worse. All right. Um, Especially when you look at the situation, with the Strait of Hormuz. All right, how that's going to completely jack up the whole economy. Then you have farmers saying that because of the drought and because of the lack of fertilizer, that we're in for a famine. And that's biblical prophecy. All right. Second Ezra 15 and 18, it says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. This is talking about all hell breaking loose, all right, here in America, and then it's also, going to break loose worldwide too, right? This is the time of Jacob's trouble, okay, which we're in, and it's going to intensify. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, modern day sword is the gun, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Boom. So it's going to get worse, man. All right, you got to read 2nd Ezra 15 and 2nd Ezra 16, the whole chapters. All right, it goes very much into detail about, Jacob's trouble, and all hell breaking loose. All right. So, hey, with that, I just wanted to touch on that. I pray that was edifying. The Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is putting a squeeze on this place. He's putting a squeeze on these Edomites. All right, we almost out of here. So all praise to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakaha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom.